Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Sejal Thakur, and I'm your host for this exclusive live stream series. Today, we're going to talk about one of our Nobody Studios newcos named Evalify. And it's really a new tool, and it's changing the way that we think about startups and their ideas. And so some of you that are joining us and that have heard me or talk about this topic previously or post about it, you might be wondering, what is so special about Evalify, right? And well, it's really simple, right? It's about protecting your ideas, which is especially important when you're starting a new business. And so whether you're in a garage, a dorm room, or a kitchen table, your ideas have value. And so Evalify really is there to help protect that value so you can focus on making your dream a reality. So today, I'm going to be joined by several individuals from our Nobody Studios team. Welcome back to our Chief Nobody, Mark McNally.
Hey, Sejal.
Hey, Mark. Great to see you again. Yeah. You know what I realized is today's the 22nd of March, and this is our 22nd live stream together.
Wow.
That's serendipity.
Wow.
I do prepare for these things, believe it or not. And so we're going to be talking about Evalify, like I said. And so we've got two other of our special nobodies joining us, William Carbone, who's the CEO and co-founder of Evalify. And we also have Nick Scoba, who's also the Chief Product Officer and co-founder of Evalify. Welcome to the show, William and Nick.
Thank you, Sejal. It's great to be here again.
Hi,
first
everyone.
time on the Making of Nobody for sure.
I know, William. You're no stranger to our live stream series. I've had you on on our Culture live stream. You've been on a No Potty with me, so you're a pro. But Nick, this is your first time, so I'm really looking forward to learning for you about this exciting tool.
Likewise, happy to know more about also the format, the show, and let's see what we can share today with
Awesome.
Looking forward for questions as well.
Yes, thank you. And for people that are joining us, we've got this going live on several different platforms. We want this to be interactive, right? So if you have any questions for William, Mark, or Nick, please put those in the comments and we'll make sure that we answer your questions as we go through this conversation. So Mark, I wanted to kick it off with you. We have so many founders that want to join our Nobody Studios journey. We have so many ideas that are constantly coming at us. So tell us a little bit about why you invited William and Nick to join our journey. What resonated with you about their unique qualities that they bring to our studio?
I think it was just a perfect combination of factors. I mean, we had been thinking for a while how we would use IP to inform, companies we might create or, not create. And it was just more conceptual, like, yeah, we should figure that out someday. So they kind of knocked on the door with a strong background and passion around IP and some of the opportunities. But, above all, before we actually landed on the final idea that became Evalify, I just really, became quite fond of William and Nick, just the kind of folks that nobody is all about, right? And if we were lucky enough to continue to attract folks like William and Nick, there's no stopping us, right? So just the right mix of, passion, curiosity, intellectually honest. They taught me a lot, so they're not afraid to stand up for what they believe in, but they're also mentally coachable. And it's just, it's been a delight. So yeah, just early on, it was like, I know we're going to have to work with these guys. Let's figure it out. So.
Yeah, thank you. And again, like I was saying, we get so many ideas, right, for newcos because people are always coming to us with great ideas. And so I wanted to, we're going to be talking about and focusing today on Evalify. What was it about Evalify that really resonated with our Nobody Studios model and inspired you to add that to our portfolio of companies that we're building?
Yeah, I mean, and you're kind of set up, talked about founders, but it's also a lot about investors. We realize that there's so many people looking at so many deals, and I've done 27 years of startups and done plenty of venture funding along the way, but nobody really ever asked me, like, what is your IP risk profile? Nobody asked me. It's not something that's easy to get. It's not something that's like top of mind, but it's so obvious, and so one of the things that we found early as we were kind of playing around with where the product roadmap was going to go was this idea that you just make it click button simple to assess a business's idea and see where it's at in the overall IP landscape and what the risks may be in terms of existing patents, or who the people are that own the most kind of patents in that certain area, and even eventually kind of even suggest adjacent possibilities to the IP that you might be working on. And so the idea that you could make that click button simple, whereas otherwise it would be, tens of thousands of dollars of legal work, and for the most part, people don't do that. Just, really fascinated me as like a new market creation. And we'd said things early on, we still say it, like, I think once people get this in their hands in terms of making an investment decision, they're going to feel naked without it. Like, you really are going to create something that people are going to want in every decision. And one of the things we did when the prototype started working was we said, let's go take this against existing companies with known outcomes, but let's go back 10 years and look at their pitch deck. And William and Nick can talk about it, but we looked at like Uber Cab, Jawbone, a couple other high-flying companies, and it came out pretty stark. Uber Cab was a really high score, and it's turned into a $100 billion company. Wow. And Jawbone raised $1 billion and went bankrupt, and it was a really low score on the IP side. So again, I don't think IP is a single deciding factor by any means in any kind of company, but the idea that you'd want to know that going into it, is important. And I think that you'll see this in some of our messaging now moving forward is like, would you make an investment in a company that had significant IP risk? No, then don't. Evalify. The idea that is now at your fingertips, I do think that investors are going to feel ridiculous not knowing that before they decide to make an investment. So, yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, no, and as I was learning more about it, and I've been, reading up on it, it's a game changer, and I've said this in several of my comments as I've posted about this topic too. And so before we jump in, I'd love to hear from William and Nick about what inspired you to build Evalify. So William, maybe you could kick it off.
Yeah, sure. Based on what Mark was saying, by the way, we were also grateful for the environment of the studio and people in the studio who helped us to get to this level, right? Like endless brainstormings, and also learning from the giants, I would say, with the network. So what inspired us, let's say we started with a methodology, with our first company, as Mark was saying, and then we wanted to find a vertical for that, and seemed like that investors. The investment industry, like the VC industry, was the one that would mostly benefit from this technology. We target also the founders, but that was a different type of understanding of the business. And Evalify is still for founders, but we are targeting investors for the simple reason that they would wake up and do the diligence sometimes on the Series A. So with Evalify, we want to move the needle a little bit more, actually in the early stage, when as soon as they receive a pitch deck from a founder saying, okay, would like to invest in my company. Oh, yeah, the first meeting, they meet, they like the team, the investor likes the team, there's a potential for technology. Now everybody speaks about AI, for example. There is a potential market there, but they forget to check the IP. One of the reasons is because it's not accessible. No one will call a lawyer and ask, to take a pitch deck and analyze it from the IP perspective and spend $15,000 if you're lucky. So we ease up that type of process for the investors, and that's actually what inspired us to drive it, especially after the COVID and the times where investors had a lot of FOMO and to invest in any type of startup, and then we experienced a bit of JOMO after, like the joy of missing out in that perspective. So we thought, okay, that's maybe the perfect storm for the tool to happen. We had all the possible cards in place. And as Mark was mentioning, we even had a lot of fun to do a patent time machine with our product. So check retrospective analysis with all the previous startups and successful and unsuccessful unicorns. And we found actually a correlation where our system was quite eloquent, on the results. Like we see, okay, the successful ones like Uber had higher score. Is also a way to use the patent data as a competitive analysis tool as well.
Yeah, Nick, I'd love to hear your take on it too. What inspired you to build Evalify?
As Mark said, Mark introduced, and William also nailed it. From understanding what's the competitive landscape of patents around a certain idea, you immediately understand what's the IP profile risk of a certain company, and you start risking those, you start scoring those by less risky, and many times you'd be surprised by how much less risky also corresponds to people who you never probably talk to. What I'm saying is, there is a long tail of innovation, of innovators, of ideas that are not normally, getting the right access to capital, the right access to the venues where decisions are made, because they haven't got the right intro, they haven't got introduced by the right person at the right time. So also the studio, we always talked about that probably the next big idea will come from a place that is completely far from where we are, from a person that has a completely different background and culture and experience than um, we have, and probably that idea will never resonate with us. But this tool, you all of a sudden have the chance to get these ideas and evaluate them objectively. You're taking like a global benchmark, like it is the worldwide patent data set, and you're understanding from this data what's existing, what's not existing, where there is peak of stuff, and where there are empty valleys that can become potential white spaces. And in mapping what's like the knowledge around the world, we are able immediately to say, this is novel, this is not novel, this is a good idea, this is a less good idea. And what we're saying is to investors, you should prioritize those ideas with respect to the others. And as Mark said, IP in this case is informing better decisions. And it's not like the sole thing one should look at, but it's, as William also was explaining, we found out that there is a huge correlation between the best companies, of which nowadays we know what was the outcome, and how the IP looked like at the moment they started. Because that informs, like, if the company is going to have the freedom to operate in a market. And with freedom to operate, we really mean avoiding infringing on patents. So what resonates with me a lot is that we can get like unknown founders to come up with brilliant ideas and have the ideas to speak for them. That's what inspired me.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
The patent, right? They can start only with the business idea. So Evalify, just for the record, we get this asked a lot, by the way. So they can just start with the business idea. They don't need to have a patent filed in order to do that in the system.
Thank you. Thank you.
Coming in comments. That's amazing.
I know I knew this topic was going to resonate, and I'm going to get to those questions. And I love what all three of you said, because it really makes it very clear that Evalify is a platform that really levels the playing field, right, for every founder, so that everybody has a fair shot at success, which is huge, regardless of their background, right? And as Nick, you said, it could be anywhere in the world, which is really important for our venture studio, because we are irrationally global, right? So we want to look for those founders in all corners of the world. And I also like that Mark clarified that this isn't only for founders. It's also, we're also targeting venture capitalists that are going to benefit as well, right? And so let's jump into the first question. I wanted to give a shout out to Andy Walsh, and he's asking this question: at what stage should founders submit patents to future-proof their IP? So who wants to kick that one off?
I can, of course.
So
yeah, as soon as possible is the answer, but not always. So it really depends from the business. It really depends from the market, the moment. If you think about IP for a defensive purpose, or for, let's say, an instrumental tool in your strategy to defend yourself, to let's say, defend yourself by attacking, by preventing others from entering in your garden, in your field. So it really depends from what is the business. But what normally happens in the industry is that you typically start to have in the same sentence startup, founder, investor, patents at the moment of the due diligence. The moment when we find all these words together, it's 12, 18 months away into the development, and that might be too late. So definitely earlier than that. And with earlier than that in the protection, also the check on IP. IP should become the IP check should be an integral part of the early stage due diligence checklist. That's what we're putting together with Evalify.
Yeah, I like that. The earlier, the better, right? Because I think a lot of startup founders, especially the ones that I've been talking to, they seem to kind of postpone that, until later on in the process. And then they'll realize that there's actually really strict deadlines that you have to follow, right? To file your patents and all this stuff. But there's another question here that, William, I would love if you can talk on this one. Give a shout out to a couple more people. This topic is really resonating. Matthew Davidson, welcome back. And then I have a question here from Renee Baston, who says, is the Evalify analysis focused only on patents? If not, how do you handle non-patent IP, which is prevalent form of IP for most of the founders that are in this industry, I guess. That's what he's asking. For most SW and for most in ML, etc. So, William, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
It's a great one. Yeah, it's a longer conversation, but however, we are focusing only on patents simply because there are already other solutions available in the market for other type of things. There is I saw even tools that assess the feasibility of a team, like their synergy and the background, compared to the business model. So there is tool for business models, for financials, but there is actually the missing one was the IP, and that's why Evalify exists. Like, that's actually what inspired us to exist. And on that also, we work in that direction only with patent data. This means that if an information is not in a patent database, that we don't basically, it's not relevant to the tool, it's not relevant to what the company does. And we got this question asked a lot. When you enter a supermarket, you have different type of products. However, we have at least, we had to crack the part of the patent and to have freedom to operate analysis that was automated. The rest is way easier because you have access to other databases. And so this was also the rationale behind that. And when it comes to software patents, we are aware, of course, that each time you have a system and a method to solve a problem that's actually filed in a form of a patent, then we are also able to scan that. It's under our radar. If, of course, it's kept as a trade secret, nobody will ever know. So it's also a way that we know for sure if some information is in the database, it's actually accessible to us. Otherwise, basically, you can use Google or other types of search engines because it's not relevant for the patent search. This means that you're not infringing on anyone. And I don't know, Nick, if you have a more technical explanation on this one.
No. I think you covered it. Like, at the moment, we're focusing on patents because it's a unique data set worldwide. We literally have a global benchmark of knowledge. Up to 60% of the information that is in patents doesn't appear anywhere else publicly, on the web. There might not even be a companion paper, let's say, that complements that. Either you have access to intranets of companies, or you'll never know more than what it is published on a patent for certain kind of specific technology. So it's a pretty unique data set. That's our focus. William and I are both former IBMers. I'm a former IBM senior inventor, which simply means nice word to say that I was prolific and say an expert into patents, and that's where also why there is this focus. We are really experts in that. There is also a lot related to software and to models, to other things. But this is all things that is part of the future and pipeline for what we do have in mind and areas of expansion for Evalify.
Yeah, I would love to dig in a little bit more because I'm seeing a lot of questions coming up about how it works, right? So there's a question here by Andres Alzate. I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Andre, but he says, can we use it to evaluate specific patentable systems or methods that could be applied to any startup rather than focusing on new product in a pitch deck? So I think this is getting into the nitty gritty, right? Like, how does Evalify work?
Yeah, absolutely. So short answer, yes. It's probably one of the easiest but yet fruitful misuse of Evalify. So if you want to keep playing with Evalify this way, please do. You're free. You're free to move on with this and continue. Definitely works. So basically, whatever is in the pitch deck that you provide to us, it's examined in a way that we understand exactly what are all the technical features into that. We put together the features in a way that we literally start thinking like, what is the solution here that is being proposed? How these different components that are proposed are working together. We understand what should be searched together, what should be a separate feature, what is not worth even patenting. So we do a lot of reasoning, and when we understand what we need to search, we search that feature by feature. You will get an assessment using patent data, or rather that would be on a trajectory to possibly infringe on existing documents, on existing patents, or not. All the legal checks, all the legalities around that is also part of the assessment, and it's reflected into the score.
Yes, thank you for that explanation, Nick. And Andre went on to say it could be useful for the studio itself in order to create other patentable assets, such as an IBM model, right? Something for us to consider as we move forward. But, Nick or William and Mark, feel free to chime in at any point, right? I think I would love to kind of dissect this a little bit more, right? For somebody that is not familiar with Evalify, what do they have to submit and how long does the process take? How much does it cost? Walk us through the process of what somebody can expect if they want to use Evalify.
And now we have like two-step process, actually 3 steps process. You just log in. You don't even have to log in. So you just try Evalify, you upload your pitch deck, you pay. The price is now $249 per report. And then you basically do the checkout with Stripe. It's 3 simple steps. And your analysis gets delivered to your email when it's ready. And then you can do the registration, waste time with this kind of login things. It's a new feature. Many clients have asked for that, especially those that are running and they have to make a fast decision on their startup that they have in mind. And so it's a three steps simple process. And the waiting time, can vary, but it's like 5 to 10 minutes. So it's never like 3 weeks like a lawyer will take, or a month, as we've seen sometimes.
And it certainly doesn't cost as much as a lawyer would charge. I'm pretty sure about that.
Less than 1 hour, hourly fee of a lawyer, like way less than 1 hour hourly fee, at least in the Bay Area.
Absolutely. And Renee had another question here. And this is a good one. I'm curious too. How is Evalify different from some of these other platforms? And he's listed out a bunch of them here. I put it up on the screen so you can take a look at those. But and other similar AI-powered patent searching engines. How is Evalify different? Great question, Renee. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, it's actually one of the biggest misconceptions that we do have typically also within our conversations with investors. So we now focused a lot of our conversation towards patents, but patents is not what we're searching. What we are doing here is de-risking. We are understanding ideas and we are assessing ideas and de-risking decisions. We're just using patent knowledge to do so. If tomorrow morning we drop patents and we put another data set, non-patent literature, as we were saying, or totally different data set, your own information, your own investment thesis, your own criteria for scoring ideas, the tool will maintain its logic and do the assessment. But what Evalify does is assessing ideas. We're using patent knowledge and the fact William and I are expert into this field to understand in a counterintuitive way, to use in a counterintuitive way, the knowledge that we know is existing in patents to make these assessments. So the way we search for patents internally, it's actually one of the proprietary things at Evalify. You'll never know how we search things until you will see our patents out. And we do have a pretty unique to search for patents, but that's a thing that we do to assess ideas. So none of these tools you have mentioned here are actually meant for that. They are meant for searching using AI into that, but that's not what we do.
And I want to add also, Oh, sorry.
From the very beginning, we tried to figure out how to make this a consumer digestible kind of report as well, right? So you see a lot of tools like in legal tech that will allow you to do searches and stuff, and that's great. But again, it's still kind of a tool set for power users or attorneys and such, right? And I'm glad to say this out loud. Like we early on said, like think of Carfax. If you buy a used car right now, you buy a Carfax. You know, it costs you $49, but you get understand everything that happened on that car before you bought it. And you might be buying a $15,000 used car. That's an easy investment to make sure you know, you know, all the service records, any accidents it's been in, etc. But before Carfax came along, you had lots of tool sets, just like that was named in that question, that you could do backgrounds, and some, you know, car dealers did that, etc. But it wasn't something consumers could use, right? It was still something that you used as a tool to, like, again, just empower people who are already in that mind space. Now you can buy a Carfax and you get a 3-page report and nice little graphs, and it tells you things you should be worried about, things you shouldn't be. And it makes it really, really easy. And now, again, they created a market where you'd feel naked buying a used car without it. And I think we're doing the exact same thing, which is we always said, what's our Carfax report going to be? So to get through all the mess of all the noisy conversation around like what we do in the details, the end result is you actually get a score. Think of it like a credit score. We give you a score in terms of how strong or how weak that particular position is. And we give you a consumer digestible report that explains specifically what you should be concerned about, what you shouldn't be concerned about, and some possibilities you want in your IP. And so we really make it digestible, and it's the difference between data and intelligence. You know, intelligence is the interpretation of data, and a lot of these other tool sets in the market are just giving you ways to search data.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, there's so far no tool building on what Mark and Nick said that is targeting investors as well, or startup funders. They are very laborious. You have to pay a license, spend several thousands of dollars, like dozens of thousands of dollars per year, and find them as well, and then master a search query, extract. It's very laborious. So this is actually targeting investors, and it's as easy as uploading a pitch deck.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to add a little color to this, though, because I wanted to make sure it's not this abstract concept, because I think people, I can speak from my own experience, 27 years of venture, backed companies. I wouldn't say IP was ever a really strong conversation on the front end. It was maybe a part of due diligence where they'd say, oh, you have some patents? Can you send that application over for us? We'll stick it in our file. Going back probably 20 years ago, when like intellectual ventures and stuff were being created, like the patent wars have been going on for decades. They're just starting to hit mainstream investors and mainstream startups, right? And, on the big scale, like Google acquired Motorola for billions of dollars, but they were decades beyond their prime of creating cool, phones. They didn't buy it for that. They actually bought Motorola for its entire patent ecosystem. Microsoft bought Nokia. Nokia was a decade beyond its prime of knowing how to build good phones, but it bought it for its patent ecosystem. And I'll bring it home to a real world startup. This is not just the battleground of big guys. I was a CEO of a large e-commerce company years ago, and I got recruited. They're about to raise $22 million. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a lot of fun, super exciting. We're gonna build it for a couple of years. And within the first few months, we were served with a patent from Amazon lawsuit because they had the patent for one-click buy, which everybody in the internet is doing one-click buy. But they realized we had capital. We had indemnified our biggest customers like Discovery and Chicago Bulls and some big clients. So a tiny little startup ultimately had to pay out $14 million to that patent. Like, this is ridiculous. Wouldn't you want to know that before you wrote a check as an investor? And so I just think that we're coming in like, and we're talked about, investors as our prime customer, but you also start to think about, insurance companies to begin with, like how they underwrite risk. Payouts on IP related kind of claims are at all-time high. So insurance companies are trying to get their head around how to underwrite that, how to assess risk. They're going to be great customers for us. Originally, we thought we might be cannibalizing IP attorneys' work. IP attorneys are reaching out to us going, man, I want to use this because when my customers do this report, it tells them what they should hire me for, right? So I think we're just continuing to see, as we peel back the layers of the onion, that there's more and more opportunities for the business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the questions are just keep coming in. So let's keep going. There's a question here by Max Mainzer, and he said, how does Evalify differentiate between and assess the strength of granted patents versus those that are still pending? Good question. Additionally, does the platform estimate the likelihood of pending patents being granted? And if so, how is this analysis integrated into your overall risk assessment process? Great question, Max.
It's a great question.
Care of
And
that.
what did you say, William? Sorry.
I'm so happy we do care of that. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We do care of that, absolutely. There is a difference between the granted and the pending in a sense that these are weighted differently when we are making decisions on the score. So definitely there is a work we do with that. Also to compute the score and to build the rest of the report. Plus, the other part was if we identify the likelihood of the
Pending patents being granted.
yes. So absolutely yes. It's part of the score as well. We are also looking at how much is left until the decision is made, and that also increases the risk towards consider it like something that might not be granted. So definitely that is part of what we do. Is behind the score and the assessment.
Excellent, excellent. And I know we're almost at time, but I have a couple more questions for you. I knew this was going to go over because this is going to be an important conversation. We've got lots of engagement going on. One more question by Andres. He said, does the tool work for all types of patents? God, these are great questions, including software, business methods, chemistry, machines, and design patents. Great question, because a lot of people think IP is just about patents, right? And there's a lot more to that. And it says, does the tool tell you that the patent classifications in which the technology is proposed in the case can be considered if people do not know them?
So once again, long question, but we can simplify the answer. Not all type of patents, in the sense that we work with utility patents at the moment. We are not working with plant or design yet, but it's part of what we want to do. So utility patents, we do work with almost 200 million documents from over 170 jurisdictions. So it's almost worldwide coverage, but for utility patents. Because we work a lot with the semantics. And everything related to the classification, yes, that is also behind the score, but it's not like visible. Since we target investors, we do not specialize on what we would imagine to interact with let's say, all the filters in the data, all the nuanced selections into drill down and exclude, include, related to very, very specific classification codes in patents, or I don't know, different authorities, different IPC or CPC, so different classifications. We do not work with that. We use that information, and everything is then considered into the final score. So we simplify all that information, and that all finishes behind the score. All contributes to that single number that tells you a lot. Our target is investors, and we don't want to waste their time into looking at all CPCs, all international patent classification codes, and it wouldn't make any sense. That's not the insights where you'd be looking for, especially at the early stages. And if a result is not like relevant for you, you simply discard that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm seeing a lot more comments. I'll let you read those later on after we go offline, because they just keep coming in. I will ask this one other question here, because Matthew Davidson has been chiming in the chat, and he had a question about, could you reverse engineer opportunity? Right? Like, could Evalify also present the blue ocean opportunities? I see all three of you smiling at this question. So who wants to take this one?
Yeah, good question. Next.
Move on. Mark is like that.
Let's talk later, Matthew.
There might be a few things we want to keep in-house. Let's put it that way.
All right, there we go. So we're not giving all the secrets away, Matthew, just some of them, not all of them. That's one apparently we're not giving away. So how do we envision Evalify influencing the landscape, right, of startup funding? We've talked a little bit about the venture capital benefits, but what does the future look like with Evalify? Because we're almost at time here.
Well, I think it's also back to the question on inspiration. What inspired us is to give an opportunity to funders and investors to make more informed decisions. So even for them to understand the trajectory of their idea, and let's say pivot as soon as they find out about a patent is existing in that space. And it's not just for the infringement, but for example, if you will see the status of a patent in the tool that has been abandoned, you will also like to find out why it's been abandoned. You might get in touch with the founder on LinkedIn and ask them, like, what happened with your patent? Read all their literature, inform yourself about the company. Was there a corporation behind? What is the legal status? So there's so many scenarios that can start from a single piece of information on a patent that was simply not available before. And so we do have, of course, our roadmap. We disclose it. Just keep an eye on our LinkedIn page, please. We're gonna, I want to give you. I'm not gonna just tell things here, but there are a lot of exciting stuff happening in following weeks. And we already have amazing features that have been deployed in the system. So I just invite you, to subscribe and enter, join Evalify now, and it's from our website evalify.ai, and just keep an eye on our LinkedIn page too.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, William and Nick. Again, Andres is chiming in. He's confident this tool is going to change the game, right? And wants to join the team. And he's got hundreds of ideas. So Andres, please check out our website. William and Nick just said how you can get a hold of them. Again, William, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you? LinkedIn, is that where you want people to go? Or do you have an email address that you prefer that people reach out to you? What's the best way?
LinkedIn is best usually, and also sign up on a newsletter at the bottom of the page on Evalify. We also have our own emails on the webpage. So yeah, just follow us.
All right, Matthew's going to be reaching out to you because he's already saying talk soon. Is there anything else that any of you want to add to this conversation? Thank you so much. I learned so much about Evalify during our conversation today.
It was impressive also with the audience. We were, I'm astonished to see at the level of, this actually type of internal conversations we usually have with Nick. So I'm pretty amazed about the level of people who joined the call today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just wanted to say thank you for all the questions because, all you're asking is something we thought about, all you expect, it's already in the score. And just glad that, we built what we really feel is going to empower you to make better decisions, to evaluate, to even get better at explaining things, at coming up with good ideas, understanding where to look at. We can just unleash so many potential, not only in how we think, but also different line of directions we can expand. So love the conversation, and let's keep going offline.
And by the way, in case you were asking, we ran the score on our own pitch deck. So originally we've even pivoted some of the features, and now we got like a really good score. So we can't sell a product we are not confident about. So we did that, and we have now a very good score.
Mark, did you want to add anything for closing comments?
No, I just echo the same. Just great questions. And William and Nick, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you guys. Looking forward to seeing where we go. And I think some of the questions kind of hinted at so many different directions we can go with this product. So I'm just excited to see where we can go and announcing that to the audience and get feedback and doing something special here. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We're really looking forward to seeing Evalify take off. And of course, we're all cheerleading this on. So until next time, thank you again for everybody that joined us. If you missed our prior episodes, they've got them all on our YouTube channel at Nobody Crowd. And we'll keep you posted on Evalify. If you're not connected with us on LinkedIn, make sure you follow our journey there. We've got Evalify as well as Nobody Studios that we're always going to be putting out more information. And I'll say this one more time. If you have any questions or ideas about Evalify, please reach out to William and Nick on LinkedIn. They're there to answer your questions and join the journey. So if anything we talked about resonates with you, check us out online, and we'll see you all next time. Thank you again, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.